He left her with triplets. And still thought he'd win. The room fell silent as Monica Harris walked onto the stage. On her left, the CEO of Evervolt. On her right, 3 children, hers, stood tall beside her. They looked nothing like victims. Third row, center seat. Derek Coleman didn't blink. He wasn't supposed to be here. Not like this. Not watching the woman he left headline the biggest deal of the year. His mouth opened just slightly. No words came out. 6 years ago, he walked out without a warning. She was 5 months pregnant, with 3 lives growing inside her. He said she'd hold him back, that she was too much baggage. Now she was standing where he thought he'd be. Monica looked ahead. No emotion, no fear. She didn't look for him in the crowd. She didn't need to. Fade to black. Text on screen 6 years earlier. Monica Harris loved science more than anything. She didn't grow up with much. Just her mom, 2 younger brothers, and a tiny apartment in the Bronx. But she had a mind that never stopped asking why. At college, she studied chemistry. She dreamed of working in clean energy, changing how people lived, maybe even building something that would outlast her name. She stayed late in labs, spent weekends buried in textbooks no one told her to read. Professors saw her. They said she had the kind of mind you don't waste. She believed them. She believed in herself. She wasn't the loudest, but when she spoke, people listened. She wrote in her journal, thus say, one day I'll invent something that matters, something real. At 21, her future felt wide open, like a map without borders. What she didn't know was that love would be the first thing to redraw that map, and not in the way she expected. Monica met Derek Coleman during her 2nd year of college. He was older, confident, the kind of man who filled a room without saying much. He talked about building companies, taking risks, making millions well before 30. At first, she admired him. He saw her potential, or so he said. He listened to her ideas, told her she was brilliant, special. Then slowly things changed. He called her too serious, said she studied too much, said people like her didn't need degrees to win. He wanted her around more, told her real success came from partnership, and that meant sacrifice. He didn't yell, he didn't push. He smiled when he said those things. So she believed him. She thought love meant adjusting. She thought slowing down meant loyalty. The fire inside her didn't die. But it dimmed, just a little. And that's how it began, not with control, but with charm dressed as care. And silence where there should have been questions. Derek said he had a plan. He told Monica they didn't need school to succeed, that real winners took shortcuts. Built from instinct, not degrees. He wanted to get married. Said she didn't need to prove anything anymore. Let me take care of you. I'll handle everything. It sounded like love. It sounded like safety. So she left her program, packed up her textbooks, stopped going to class. Her professors called. She didn't answer. She told herself it was temporary. Derek said they'd build something together. He just needed her full focus, her loyalty. The wedding was quiet. Just a few people. No cap, no gown, no diploma. She smiled in every photo, but her eyes, if you looked closely, weren't sure. She let go of her dream, because he asked gently, because it felt like choosing love. But deep down, a voice whispered, "Don't forget who you were before him." She tried not to listen. Monica sat in the clinic, staring at the sonogram screen. 3 heartbeats. She laughed, then cried, then laughed again. Triplets. It didn't feel real. She rushed home holding the printout in both hands, told Derek with a nervous smile, 3, Derek, 3 of them. He didn't smile back. He paced the room, said this wasn't the right time, said they could barely afford one. Then came the sentence she never forgot. We should think about options. She froze. What do you mean? He looked away. You know what I mean. She didn't scream. She didn't fight. She walked into the bedroom, closed the door, laid the sonogram face up on the pillow, stared at it in silence. 3 tiny lives, and not one of them was wanted by the man she married. That night something in her shifted. She was still carrying them, but now she knew she would be carrying them alone. It happened on a Wednesday. Monica came home from a doctor's appointment. The apartment was too quiet. His shoes were gone. So was his laptop, and half the closet. At first she thought he was out. Then she saw it. A folded note on the kitchen counter. No name, no envelope, just 5 lines written in a sharp, rushed handwriting. I can't do this. I'm not ready. Don't try to find me. Take care of yourself. To no apology. No explanation. No goodbye. Her hands shook as she read it again. And again. Then she looked down at her belly. 3 lives growing inside, no job, no degree, no partner. Outside the window, the sky turned gray. She didn't cry. Not yet. She picked up the note, folded it, slipped it into a drawer, not because she wanted to remember, but because one day they might ask why their father left, and she'd need proof he never looked back. The exam room smelled like bleach and paper. Monica sat on the edge of the table. One hand rested on her belly. The other clutched her coat, still damp from the rain. The nurse smiled kindly, then stepped out. A few minutes later, the doctor walked in. Gray hair. Gentle voice. He glanced at her chart, then looked around the room. "Is your husband parking the car?" She didn't answer. He tried again. "Or will he be joining us later?" Still nothing. Monica stared at the empty chair beside her. She blinked once. Her eyes were red, but her lips pressed tight. The doctor paused, then simply nodded. He didn't ask again. He placed the Doppler on her stomach. A moment of silence. Then 3 quick, steady heartbeats. Monica closed her eyes. She wasn't ready. She wasn't sure how she'd do this. But in that moment, she knew one thing for certain. She already had everything to lose. The delivery came early. Too early. Monica woke up in pain at 3 a.m. By the time she reached the hospital, her contractions were minutes apart. The room was bright, cold. No one held her hand. No one whispered, "You're doing great." Just nurses, machines, and the sound of her own breathing, sharp and fast. Hours later, it was over. 3 babies, Jordan, Ava, Elijah, Tani, fragile, each placed in a separate incubator. Tubes, beeps, wires. Monica tried to sit up, but her body wouldn't move. She turned her head, eyes scanning the NICU window. No one was there. No father, no family, no flowers, just a name card taped to the glass. Harris, Monica, Mother. She whispered it to herself. Mother. The word felt too big, too heavy. But it was hers now, no matter who left, no matter who stayed away. She had 3 reasons to keep going, and they were all staring back at her. Monica worked the morning shift at a diner 2 blocks from the shelter. She wore a second-hand apron and a baby carrier strapped tight across her chest. Most days it was Elijah she carried. He cried less than the others. She poured coffee with one hand, balanced plates with the other. When the rush ended, she washed dishes in the back. Hot water, grease, sleeves rolled up to her elbows. The baby pressed against her, sleeping through the clatter. Customers rarely noticed. Managers looked the other way. They needed workers. She needed hours. At night, she rotated feedings 2 ounces at a time, changed diapers in the dark, slept in 15-minute windows if at all. Sometimes she'd wake up sitting straight, still wearing her uniform. She didn't complain, not because it wasn't hard, but because no one was listening. Hard became normal, and tired became permanent. But the babies were breathing, and that was enough. For now. At 9 p.m., the diner closed. Monica wiped tables last, made sure tips were counted. Then she walked 3 blocks to a coffee shop that stayed open late. She didn't go inside. She couldn't afford a drink. Instead, she sat on the curb just outside the window, right where the Wi-Fi reached. She opened her old laptop, battery-cracked, keys sticking. On the screen, an online course in digital marketing. The connection cut out every few minutes. She refreshed, waited, tried again. Sometimes she rocked a stroller with her foot while they're taking notes. Sometimes she typed with one hand, holding Ava in the other. No quiet, no privacy, just borrowed internet and a will that wouldn't quit. She didn't tell anyone, didn't post it online, didn't ask for praise. She just showed up every night, because learning was the only thing she still owned. And somewhere deep down, she knew knowledge might be her way out. It wasn't planned. Ava, barely 6, had seen her mom struggle. She watched Monica study by streetlight, saw her fall asleep over open notebooks. One night, while Monica reheated formula, Ava picked up a phone. She pointed the camera at her mom. Tired eyes, laptop on her knees, 2 brothers asleep beside her. She whispered into the mic, "My mom works all day. Then she studies all night. She wants to go back to school. She deserves to tend to..." She posted it on an old TikTok account. Just 15 seconds, no filter, no music. By morning, it had over 200,000 views. By noon, over 1 million. Comments flooded in. "She's incredible. Where do we donate? Get this woman a scholarship." Monica didn't know about the video until Ava handed her the phone. She read the comments, stared at the screen. Then, for the first time in months, she cried, because someone finally saw her. The email came on a Tuesday morning. Subject line, "Scholarship Award Notification. She Rises Foundation." Monica almost deleted it. She thought it was spam. Then she read the first line, "Dear Monica, we saw your story, and we believe in second chances." They offered full tuition for an online certification in digital marketing, plus a laptop, childcare support, and a small monthly stipend. It wasn't a handout, it was a door. She read the email 3 times just to be sure. Then she stared at the babies, all 3 sleeping in one crib. She whispered, "We're not stuck anymore." She didn't post about it, didn't make an announcement, she just got to work. Class started that Thursday. She opened her new laptop, logged in, put on headphones. While other moms slept, she studied. She took notes in the margins of diaper boxes. Every quiz, every lesson, every hour. A quiet act of rebuilding. One certificate led to another. Monica finished her first course in 6 weeks, top of her class. She applied for a full-ride MBA through the same nonprofit. They said yes. The program combined business, marketing, and digital strategy. It was built for working parents, but most didn't have triplets. Still, she showed up every day, every night. Sometimes with a baby on her lap, sometimes with one on her back, always tired, always present. She learned how to build campaigns, pitch products, manage teams. She studied branding during feedings, watched lectures on mute while burping Elijah. She turned case studies into flashcards, printed worksheets on the back of old receipts. No tutors, no nannies, no breaks, just determination. Her professors noticed. One wrote, "Resilience is her strongest skill." Monica didn't aim to be the best in class. She just couldn't afford to fail, not with 3 mouths to feed, and no one left to catch her. Lisa Miller worked the night shift at the same diner. Single, no kids, 2 jobs. She noticed Monica from the start. Quiet, exhausted, never late. One night, Lisa found Monica asleep in the break room, holding a bottle, still in her apron. She didn't ask questions. She just said, "Bring the babies tomorrow. I'll watch them while you study." At first, Monica refused. She wasn't used to help. But Lisa insisted. So once a week, Monica brought the kids to Lisa's apartment. It was small, a little messy, but full of warmth. Lisa played lullabies on her phone, fed them mashed bananas, and made space for Monica's books on the kitchen table. They didn't talk much about the past, only about what was next. Monica called her the only person who didn't leave. Lisa just shrugged. Sometimes the people with the least give the most. It wasn't charity, it was friendship, built not on comfort, but on shared struggle. Monica never forgot her first dream, clean energy. Between classes and shifts, she taught herself coding, basic Python, circuit theory, open source systems. She borrowed books from the library, watched YouTube tutorials after midnight, took free courses, 1 module at a time. She ran early prototypes from her kitchen table. Wires, old laptop batteries, broken toys, everything taped, labeled, and logged in a spiral notebook. The kids watched from the high chairs. "What's that, Mama?" "An idea," she said. "For later." Her concept was simple. A low-cost modular battery for homes. Efficient, affordable, portable. Most people saw a single mom soldering wires next to a rice cooker. Monica saw a solution. For families like hers. For lights that shouldn't go out just because money runs short. She didn't have a lab or funding or approval, but she had an idea, and sometimes that's enough to start. It was raining hard that morning. Monica was walking the kids to daycare when she saw the crash. A man lying near the curb, one hand gripping his chest. People stared. No one moved. She handed Elijah to a stranger, ran over and knelt beside him. "Sir, can you hear me?" He nodded, barely. She called 911, kept him awake, covered his head with her coat. When the ambulance came, she didn't wait for thanks. She took back her baby and kept walking. 2 weeks later, a letter arrived at the diner. Handwritten, no return address. "Thank you for saving my life. I looked you up. Let's talk business." It was signed James Whitaker. She Googled him. Venture capitalist, early investor in 3 major tech startups. Net worth, unknown. She stared at the letter, not because she expected it, but because it was the first time opportunity found her not through luck, but through instinct and action. They met at a public library. Monica brought her prototype in a diaper bag. James Whitaker listened. No slides, no pitch deck, just her voice, a notebook full of numbers, and the battery in her hands. He didn't speak for 5 minutes after she finished. Then he said, "I've heard thousands of ideas. Yours solves a real problem. I'll fund it. Seed round, $100,000. No strings, no pressure, just belief." Monica filed the paperwork the next week, registered the name, Evervolt Systems. She rented a storage unit and turned it into a lab. Folded tables, second-hand tools, a mini fridge for milk bottles. She worked through nights, rebuilt the battery 5 times, filed patents herself to save money. It wasn't glamorous, no office, no logo, no press, but it was hers, fully. For the first time in years, she wasn't surviving, she was building, and that made all the difference. The article ran in a major tech magazine. Headline, "The Future of Energy? Coleman Tech's Bold Vision." Buried halfway through was a quote from Derek. Tech isn't for everyone, especially not single moms playing startup and storage units. He didn't name her, he didn't have to. People connected the dots. Whispers started. Investors hesitated. Monica read the quote twice. Then once more, just to feel the sting, and as she didn't respond, didn't post, didn't defend. She went back to work, ran battery tests, fixed code, balanced bottles and invoices. Lisa texted, "You okay?" She replied, "Still building." The next day she page printed the article, pinned it above her desk, not out of anger, but to remember what she was up against. Not just men like Derek, but the idea that women like her didn't belong. She didn't need headlines. She was writing something bigger, page by page, build by build. Monica didn't clap back. No tweets, no interviews, no subtle digs. She poured coffee, packed lunches, rewired her prototype. Every morning she walked past the article pinned to the wall, not to feel hurt, to feel focused. She refined her pitch, fixed a voltage issue that had stalled progress for weeks, got her first small grant, then another. She hired one intern, then two. Young women, no resumes, just drive. Investors asked about the Coleman quote. She answered calmly, "I don't respond with words, I respond with progress." Her team wrote it on the whiteboard. Build, don't brag. Ava asked one night, "Mom, aren't you mad?" Monica smiled. "I'm too busy." She didn't chase approval. She didn't demand respect. She earned it in silence, through output, through consistency. Because real power doesn't shout. It shows up every single day. The first article was small, just a blog post. Evervolt, the startup reimagining home energy storage. Then came a podcast. Then a feature in a tech digest. Then an email from a major green energy expo. People were talking. Not about her past, but about her product. Monica didn't change much. Same storage unit, same plastic table, just more orders, more meetings, more attention. The new prototype was smaller, faster, safer, built for low-income homes, designed by someone who knew what that meant. She turned down early acquisition offers. She wasn't building to sell. She was building to fix something broken. The press called her the quiet force in clean tech. Monica didn't care about the label. What mattered was this. For the first time, families like hers were being included in the future. And she wasn't just part of the conversation. She was leading it. Monica stood at a small podium in a co-working space downtown. No stage, no lights. Just press, partners, and potential. She cleared her throat and smiled once. Evervolt is proud to announce our newest collaboration with Halcyon Energy. Gasps, pens dropped. Halcyon was the direct competitor of Coleman Tech, Derek's company. The room buzzed. Questions flew. Why Halcyon? A message to Coleman? Monica kept her voice steady. We chose them because they listened. Because innovation should serve people, not egos. She didn't say his name. She didn't have to. Halcyon CEO shook her hand, said, We're not just backing technology, we're backing leadership that reflects the future. Monica nodded, but her eyes were already on the next step. This wasn't revenge, it was momentum. And while others played catch-up in boardrooms, she'd spent years building from the ground. Now Evervolt had a partner with reach, and Monica had something better than recognition. She had leverage. The email came through Evervolt's general inbox. Subject line, proposal, strategic energy partnership. It was from Coleman Tech, from Derek Coleman himself. He'd seen the Halcyon deal. He wanted in. We believe Evervolt's model could complement our infrastructure, the message read. Open to discussing synergies, preferably CEO to CEO. He didn't know the hands behind the batteries, didn't know the mind behind the numbers, didn't know the woman he once left was the name on the building. Monica read it twice, then forwarded it to her assistant. Schedule something next week, in person. She didn't smile, didn't gloat. This wasn't about payback, it was timing, and timing had always been his weakness. She opened her planner, wrote down the meeting date, then underlined it once. Not to prepare, but to remember. The day he'd come looking for opportunity, and walked straight into his own history. Derek walked into the event like he always had, shoulders back, head high, suit pressed sharp. People turned. Some nodded, some stared. He liked that. He shook hands, dropped names, mentioned how early he'd backed solar, how Coleman Tech was repositioning. He hadn't seen the full list of speakers. Didn't ask, didn't care. He assumed this would be easy. Another small company looking for validation. Another deal where he could offer his name and walk away with more than he gave. He sipped his drink, checked his reflection in the glass, adjusted his tie. In his mind, this was his room. He was the expert, the veteran, the man with the answers. So when an assistant approached and said, "The CEO is ready to meet you now," he nodded with confidence. He didn't notice the Evervolt banners, didn't look twice at the photos on the wall, and as he followed the assistant to the stage, he still had no idea what was coming. The room dimmed. A single spotlight lit the stage. Monica stepped forward, calm, centered, hands steady at her sides, a tailored black blazer. Simple heels. No flash, no script. The screen behind her lit up. Monica Harris, founder and CEO, Evervolt Systems. Silence, then a ripple, then whispers. In the third row, Derek froze mid-step. He didn't sit, he didn't move. His eyes locked on hers. She didn't flinch. No anger, no smirk, just presence. Someone near him whispered, "Is that?" Another replied, "That's her." The one he left. She looked out at the crowd. Not at him. Never at him. "Thank you for being here," she said into the mic. "This is more than a product launch, it's a promise." Applause started slow, then louder. Derek stood, still holding his drink. The room wasn't his anymore, she hadn't taken his place, she'd built her own. After the final slide faded, Monica paused. Then from stage left, 3 small figures walked out, Jordan, Ava, and Elijah. Matching sneakers, little blazers, nervous steps, the crowd gasped. A few people stood. The children moved beside her, each taking a hand. She didn't say a word. She didn't need to. Her smile said everything. Not pride, not revenge, just peace, the kind that takes years to earn. Jordan looked up at her. Ava squeezed her hand. Elijah waved to the audience, and Monica, still silent, took a step forward with her children beside her. Not behind her, beside her. In the crowd, Derek lowered his eyes, not out of shame, but out of knowing he wasn't part of this picture, that he had nothing to say, and nowhere to stand. The applause wasn't wild, it was steady, sure, not for the company, not for the tech, for the story, and the woman who never needed to explain it. The press lined up near the front. A woman raised her hand, voice clear. "Ms. Harris, do you have any thoughts on Derek Coleman being here tonight?" The room tightened. Eyes shifted, phones lifted. Monica glanced toward the question, then toward her children, then back to the mic. "I forgave him a long time ago," she said calmly. "But I don't forget." Silence. Not cold, not sharp, just final. She didn't mention the past, didn't list the losses, didn't explain how forgiveness came. She didn't know that. "This company wasn't built to prove anything to anyone," she added. "It was built because families like mine deserve better." More than one person nodded. Someone whispered, "That's leadership." Derek, still seated, didn't speak, didn't stand. The spotlight wasn't his, not anymore. And Monica, still standing tall, gave one last look to the crowd, not to be seen, but to remind them she never disappeared. 6 months after the launch, Monica made a quiet announcement. Evervolt would fund a new initiative, the Strong Mothers Rise Scholarship. It would cover tuition, laptops, and childcare for single moms returning to school. No GPA requirement, no essay about struggle. Just one question. What do you want to build? The applications came fast. Hundreds, then thousands. Women from shelters, women in night shifts, women with stories just like hers. Monica read every one, not as a CEO, but as someone who had sat in that same dark, uncertain place. She chose 20 recipients for the first round. The press called it charity. She called it strategy. "Invest in mothers," she said, "and you power the future." She didn't put her name on the scholarship, didn't want the spotlight, because this time it wasn't about her rise. It was about reaching back so someone else could stand. Monica stepped onto the TEDx stage in a plain black dress. No slides, no script. Just her voice. People think leadership comes from power, money, or degrees. She paused, looked at the crowd. But the truth, real leadership is born from pain and shaped by kindness. She spoke about late nights in laundromats with a laptop, about feeding 3 babies while studying supply chains, about being told she didn't belong and choosing to stay anyway. You can build something from nothing, but not without breaking first. The audience stayed quiet, not out of politeness, but wait. "I'm not here because I'm brilliant," she said. "I'm here because I refuse to stay small." She ended with one line, "Don't lead to prove, lead to serve." A standing ovation followed, but Monica didn't smile for the applause. She smiled because Ava was in the front row, eyes wide, chin lifted, watching her mother lead with both scars and softness. The lobby of Evervolt was quiet that morning. Glass walls, soft light, floor polished like a mirror. Monica walked in holding a folder in one hand. In the other she held Jordan's. Ava and Elijah followed close behind. Their backpacks bounced gently with each step. No cameras, no press. Just another Monday. But something about it felt different. They passed the front desk. Employees nodded. Some smiled. Monica didn't speak. She didn't need to. Every step was a reminder. Not of who she'd become, but of what she never let break her. Ava asked, "Mom, are you the boss of everyone here?" Monica looked down and said, "No, just the one who never quit." Then came the final words on screen. "You don't need permission to succeed, you just need to keep going. If you've ever been left behind, comment, I'm still here." Fade to black, not an ending, just the next beginning.